Hey all, welcome to ShareTrek. This is Raj here. Friends, today we have a legal issue that touches upon HIV and a company that has done a lot for HIV. At the core of the issue is the mutual suspicion between patients and big pharma. It's a thought-provoking story, so let's get started. Welcome back, friends. At the end of this month, an appellate court in California will hear a petition from 24,000 patients alleging that they were injured by Gilead's life-saving HIV drugs. The response of the court and its decision will have a major impact in other big pharma as well as other businesses. At the heart of the case is a compound called TDF. TDF is contained in Viriad, Truvada, Atripla, Complera, and Stribild. We have spoken about these drugs in our earlier video on Gilead, where I was talking about the 12 approved drugs that Gilead has. So we did part 1 and part 2. We are still to do the pipeline. So these are all approved drugs, FDA approved drugs for HIV from Gilead. And all these drugs find TDF to be a component in them. The case was brought in the US District Court for the Northern District of California on 27th of March 2023, and the presiding judge is a judge called Alex G. Tsay. And here is the background. The FDA approved Gilead's HIV medication based on the compound TDF in 2001. Thanks to the drug and others containing TDF, the plaintiffs in the case are still alive. In the suit, plaintiffs don't claim that Gilead's treatments were defective or lacked adequate warnings, as is typically alleged in product liability lawsuits. Instead, they claim that Gilead should have rolled out sooner an alternative HIV treatment known as TAF, that carried fewer bone and kidney side effects. They say Gilead tried to maximize profits by slow walking the development and launch of its TAF treatment because it might compete with TDF medications. As per information available, it seems that the FDA didn't approve the TAF medication until 2015, about a decade after a small Gilead study showed it could have potential benefits. But it wasn't clear from that study if it was safe or more effective than TDF medication. It does take time to conduct proper trials. We are told that it turned out that the two carry similar risks. TDF and TAF both carry similar risks and benefits for most patients. TAF is not without its side effects. While TAF is less likely to cause bone and kidney damage in some patients, it's more likely to cause high cholesterol and weight gain. While the plaintiffs do not dispute these facts, they claim that their kidney and bone injuries could have been avoided had Gilead introduced its TAF drug sooner. As per Gilead, TDF medications have been approved by FDA for more than 2 decades. They are safe and effective and continue to successfully treat and prevent HIV in millions of people. Gilead says that it will vigorously defend itself in this matter and remains committed to developing and improving upon therapies that address the unmet needs of people living with HIV. The thing is that Gilead has indeed created many HIV drugs and continues to work on next-gen therapies for HIV with more than 12 candidates in its pipeline. I'm going to come up with another video to talk about those 12 candidates in the Gilead pipeline. We'll have to see how the verdict goes on this case. One can hypothetically sue a car company for not having used the seat belt when they introduce seat belts. The claim could be that if the car companies had introduced the seat belt maybe 5 years earlier, a lot of fatalities that happened in those 5 years might have been avoided. So I'm not saying that that's the argument. The argument that's being put right now is similar in the sense that companies which are working on improving their technology would be afraid and think twice before innovating, because if they come up with a new technology that improves on the older one, there can always be a question on their intentions that they delayed or slow walked the innovation so that they could fully recover their investment and make maximum profits out of their previous product, which would be out of favor once the new improved product comes into place. So that's the fear that many companies have. The question is, how does one prove that they did not drag their feet to introduce new and better technology? It's almost impossible. Then there is the question about the cost of therapies, which is quite high because all these HIV therapies are very expensive. Then I think that raises the question about whether it is fair to sue drug companies in this manner. On the other hand, the opposite question would be that because drug companies are providing therapies, should patients blindly accept their offerings and not question any perceived shortcomings? And if they have to question those shortcomings, is the court not the right place to take their complaint? So I'm keen to see what the outcome of this case will be, and if it goes against Gilead, I'm sure Gilead will appeal the verdict. We need to watch this space. And in case of the US courts, appeals court decisions and the superior court decisions can form precedents. So if there is a precedent formed, then this case can become a precedent for other cases across industries. So, for example, if there is a product in internet security, or let us say credit card security, and that new innovation is done, and which is very, very effective in preventing frauds or hacking or things like that, then the company, if there is a precedent from this case, then such a company would have to be very careful about how they go about innovating and how they go about presenting their innovation and implementing it in the market, because they have to be prepared that somebody somewhere might sue them for not having bought this innovation earlier. And if they had bought this innovation earlier, it would have prevented the losses they occurred because this technology was not present. So that's how the drug companies are approaching it, whereas the patients are approaching it from a different perspective. They are approaching it from the perspective of making sure that drug companies do not delay innovations in order to take out the maximum profits from their previous innovations. So these are two different approaches. And the reason why this court case has come up is because of growing suspicion, mutual suspicion between the patients and the drug companies. I wouldn't say it's mutual suspicion, but there is suspicion, and that has led to this particular case. And this can be resolved by having more transparent communications, better pricing policies, and more communication. At the same time, if you were to look at HIV as a disease category, the patients are definitely suffering stigma in society in many parts of the world. They are suffering a lot of loss of productivity because of their condition, and they are constantly under the stress of deteriorating health. And many of the therapies have side effects which themselves would require more treatments, and therefore the cost of living, not in terms of just eating food and clothing and shelter, but the cost of living from the point of view of getting medical services in order to not only combat HIV, but also combat the side effects of the medicines that they take to combat HIV. All that makes HIV patients really anxious about the intentions of drug companies, which charge a lot of money. On the other hand, the drug companies are investing a lot of money and research, and there are many pipeline candidates which fail halfway through the clinical trials or closer to monetization. All those costs have to be recovered, and they are all recovered in therapies that succeed, and that's why the therapies are expensive. So we'll have to watch this verdict, and I'll make sure that I'll bring you the verdict when it happens. We have to watch this carefully, and the last thing we want at this point of time is for drug companies to stifle innovation for the fear of litigation. And especially Gilead has already produced 12 HIV drugs, and it has got, I think, around 14 or so in its pipeline for HIV. So it's a big player in the field. So let's hope for the best, and I'll catch up with you again in the next video. I hope you liked this video. And if you did, what I would request is that please put this link to this video in your social media account so that more people can discover this. Or please introduce our channel and this video to any of your friends who might benefit from information like this and who are interested in these kind of videos. With that, I'd like to end this video, my friends, and I'll catch up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.